Bula Vinaka, everybody. Welcome to day 3 of the Vinaka Urban Farm Kickstarter campaign. Today is Thursday, which means it's harvest day because my remaining farmer's market is tomorrow on Friday. You can see, I don't know if you can see my breath, but I can definitely see it. It's a chilly early October morning, and things are nice and cool. The sun is just coming up. Kind of lovely right now, actually, right behind the trees. I'm gonna start off with this little row. Actually, I already harvested some arugula, but I've got this little bed of baby kale. Gonna be part of my spring mix, and that's what we're gonna start off with. So I'll show you how I harvest that, and we'll get my little greens harvester and we'll get rolling today. All right, so here I am by the baby kale row, and I've got my tool that I use to harvest these and all the other baby greens like arugula, baby mustard greens and stuff like that. Anything that has a little stem that sticks up with a leaf on top of it, I use this tool. It's called the Greens Cut, or the Quick Cut Greens Harvester. It has brushes, very sharp blades that I have cut myself on before. And it runs just on a battery drill. And all I do is I walk along the side of the bed and I hold the drill open and it cuts it. And let me tell you, this is a huge quality of life improvement. The first time I cut baby greens, the first few times I had to harvest them by hand, and it took me the whole day to do just my 1,200 square feet. I had a lot of baby greens. So this is probably 12 times faster than harvesting by hand. So yeah, big quality of life improvement. Let me show you how it works. Voila! Baby kale, all harvested. Okay, so I've successfully harvested that bed of baby kale with my Quick Cut Greens harvester. Next step in the process, after I have cut those greens with my greens harvester, is usually to wash them. Now I have dumped those greens into a bin of water that I have by my greenhouse. This is just next year I'm going to do this all in a much more streamlined setup, but because I'm just kind of playing things by ear here in my first year, I have a tub full of water, just cold water, as cold as I can get it, and I've dumped all of my baby kale into there, and I have a series of PVC pipes with little tiny holes drilled into them, and I'll show you why in a moment. Let's go around and see what's leading into there. Now this shop vac vacuum stuff, but it also has a blower on it, and it's the blower that I use. I blow air through those tubes, and it goes through those little tiny holes in the PVC, and it's going to bubble and agitate those greens, and it's going to wash off any dirt and residue off of them. It's really nice. So here it goes. That's all it takes. If they're really dirty, I'll leave it on a little bit longer than that, but it really doesn't take very long. So that's the washing process. I'm now gonna take them down to my drying station and show you the next step. Okay, locked, loaded, and ready to go. Here we are. First time I did this, I was scared that I was gonna shock myself or blow something up, but so far so good. We'll see if this is the exception. Okay, Now we have some lovely spun kale, and it's so much drier. This little green spinner is another thing that I didn't have when I started out, just like the Quick Cut Greens Harvester. And just like the Quick Cut Greens Harvester, only took me a week of trying to spin things by hand in my tiny little salad spinner to figure out that that was not gonna work on the scale I am trying to do. So I made it happen with the laundry, the washing machine salad spinner. It's actually really amazing. Okay, so I have now dumped these greens onto my greens drying rack. This is just 1/4 inch carpenter's cloth. I can never remember what they call it. Just a mesh screen so that the water drips through it. And I spread them out so that the air can kind of hit all the leaves evenly. And the reason I do this is because, again, it's a shelf life thing. If you get the greens to a point where they have just a little bit of moisture left on them, not to the point where they're dry and desiccated, but to the point where they just have a tiny bit of water on them, then that maximizes their shelf life. So after spinning them, about 90% of the moisture is gone, but now I'm gonna try and get 5 or 6 more percent gone so they get to that sweet spot. And this will just take about 4 or 5 minutes for baby kale. And when I get there, we will weigh them and then put them into the walk-in, and that is the entire process. I've got my scale set up right here. It's already correcting for the weight of the bin. And so I weigh it, and one handy thing about the way that I designed this little drying rack is that the top comes off, so the residue I can just knock off like this and pop it back on so that we don't mix up the greens with the next round of greens. So got that weighed, I'll remember that number, 2.5 pounds. For those who are curious. And now I'm going to put it in my walk-in cooler, which is another tool that I have built in this basement for the sake of this little experiment. So this guy right here, the frame with the foam insulation sprayed around the door frame to shoddily framed door, and all that insulation right there is my walk-in cooler. It's actually powered by a wall air conditioning unit, the GE, that I got a used one for $100 on Craigslist. I'll show you how that works in a second. And this is the inside. Got some homemade pickles chilling over here, the ice packs that I use for the farmer's market. And this is called the CoolBot. It's the little controller that lets the air conditioner go down to the temperatures appropriate for the walk-in, and it cools down this space very, very, very efficiently and well. And those will be stored somewhere between 34 and 40 degrees, depending on the fluctuations of the air conditioner, until they're ready to be mixed into my various mixes and then go to market. So that's how I harvest my baby greens. Alright everybody, so that was the harvest process. Basically, we're now finally on day 7 actually. It took me a couple days to get around to editing that video, but to remind everybody, that video is just part of the Kickstarter campaign where I'm trying to raise some startup funds to go full-time with my business, Vinaka Urban Farm. And the basic idea of the business is that I'm going to take other people's yards and do what I did to my yard to them and sell the produce around town. So this is my front yard. It's part of the farm that you didn't see necessarily in this video. And one of the things I would do with those startup funds is to make a more streamlined washing and packing station after the harvesting that you just saw. So if you're interested in this, you'd like to help if you think it's cool, local business get started, please consider contributing to the Kickstarter fund. I've got it linked in the description for the YouTube video here. So thanks for joining me for this one. I'll make another update video soon. Until then, salako. I'm out.